Hey everyone, so today I'm going to be doing a full review and a demo of the new Dior Star Foundation and the Dior Star Concealer. Talked about this a little bit in the last couple weeks. I've sort of been teasing about a new foundation. I've had one shade for a very long time. Well, it's actually this one. I've been using a shade that was not quite my shade, but it still looked beautiful. I've been wearing it in a lot of my videos lately and a lot of my videos over the past month or so, and it's just been beautiful. But it was just a hair dark, so a couple weeks back I ordered the shade 10 and it's perfect. So I alternate between the shade 10 and 20. I mix them. You don't have to do that, but it helps, but that's just a little backstory of why I do that. But I have been using this for a long time. I've tried it every possible way I could. I've really fallen in love with this stuff. So just to get that out of the way, it's good stuff. I think it's good stuff. And it's unique for a lot of different reasons. So I'm going to go over it and basically what it is and everything. First, I guess I got to address what's going on in the background, because anytime I change my background, you know, lots of questions, which is normal and totally understandable. But if you missed my pregnancy vlog on Wednesday, I did describe sort of what's going on and what I'm doing. When we moved in, this is a little bedroom off of our bedroom, and I just essentially knew I was going to film in here, and I thought, why not make a closet? So I did. Brad's been using the closet in our bedroom, which is fairly large. I mean, we've been storing stuff in there and his clothes, and I started looking at the space in there, the actual rod space, and there's actually more in there than there is in here. So I moved my stuff in there. It's beautiful. I'm sort of in the process of fixing that up, and for more information you can watch that pregnancy vlog, because I explained more about what I'm doing in there and stuff. I think, yeah, explained a bunch of stuff, but I might blog about that sometime at some point when it gets completed. But it's exciting. It's so much more handy, and in here I really want it to be, because I love where I film in here. I love in front of this window, and I really want this to be just a more useful room for what I do. And I'm not sure what I'm gonna do in the background, probably something pretty, or don't know. These we're gonna try to put into our existing closets in these other bedrooms, and hopefully that will work. But it's exciting. I like sort of doing new things, and you know, it was fun while it was in here, but I really like it so much better how it is now. It's strange. There's strangely more space. So I may even put a bed in here, or a day bed like I had at my at the old house years ago, where we had, you know, I had the day bed in the background, and it was a nice room, and it was very small in there. I think it was smaller than this room, but it was just useful, and I liked it. So I don't know. So we're gonna get all that figured out. Probably it won't be complete anytime soon, but you can kind of see how it evolves over time, so that'll be fun. So yeah, I'm gonna get to the demo of the foundation at the end, but I'm gonna go over the foundation, sort of what it is. The Star Foundation by Dior is sort of their new, they sell it as a weightless brightening foundation. And when you read about it, they're kind of saying you know, they're trying to mimic the quality that you would get from the lighting, the professional lighting at the Dior studios and all this stuff. And it says it has some sort of hollow silica that floats over your skin and creates this halo, and it's got this light capturing technology and all this, which I will say, I mean, you don't put it on and you're you know, but I will say that it is a beautiful foundation, and the finish is probably the favorite finish out of any foundation that I've ever tried. Seriously. It is not matte, it is not dewy, it is a perfect balance in between. It is a perfect description, or a perfect example of what natural skin looks like. It's just a beautiful finish. Like I said, it's not dewy or anything, but it is brightening and pretty. Before I apply all my bronzer and stuff, it doesn't look so flat. For example, I don't have it here, it's in my little cabinet, but my Tarte Amazonian Clay Foundation. It is a beautiful foundation. It's a beautiful matte foundation. I love that foundation so much. But again, everything, you know, it's just different stuff, which is good. But before I do bronzer or anything, it looks flat, you know? This doesn't really have that quality. It's beautiful on its own. Of course, it gets better when you add, you know, your bronzer. You kind of do all that little dealy to it. But it is really nice. It is very lightweight. That's something that I really love about it. The coverage is amazing, and I always am skeptical, like I've said, when people review foundations that have great skin. Not that they can do anything about that. I'm not saying you have to have bad skin or anything to review something, but a lot of times when someone has fairly good skin or good skin, pretty much anything's gonna work. And of course, you know, my skin used to not be like horrible. It's not horrible, but I do have some stuff to cover up now with all these like pregnancy breakouts and all the hormonal stuff. But I think it's a good time to review foundations because I can very like accurately gauge the coverage. So people with good skin and everything, and like even the years when I didn't have any issues going on, like I could always give a good review. I feel like, you know, you can give good reviews, but sometimes you can't really completely gauge the coverage, you know, like just by, because it's like if someone doesn't have anything to cover, then yeah, you can tell if the coverage is good on your skin, but they probably aren't trying to get a lot of coverage out of it, so you can't really tell what. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying. It's hard to describe. But what I'm saying is that I feel like it's a good time for me to be trying a bunch of foundations because I can really gauge the coverage. And because I have some stuff to cover right now, I can honestly say that this is really good coverage for a foundation that does feel so light. The texture of it is very similar to that of the Makeup Forever HD. It's a very shiny, liquidy foundation when it's on your hand. I don't want to say runny because it's not super thin. It's just a typical like looking foundation, you know. It's not thick, it's not thin, like water thin, but it will run, you know, like it has that sort of texture. So when you apply it, it feels light as air. It has great coverage. The finish is beautiful. It blends right into your skin. Like I said, I'm going to demonstrate this in a minute, but I've applied this in so many different ways. Well, before I talk about the brushes and my beauty blend, things that I like to use with it, and things that don't work so well with it, I will say that the staying power is really, really amazing. I don't think I mentioned that yet. The staying power is really amazing, and I have sort of, technically I have combination skin, but I always say my skin's oily because where it's oily, it is really oily. My cheeks don't get dry or flaky, but they just aren't oily ever. Like if I would blot them, there's just nothing on them throughout the day, even like right there. It just doesn't, it's just my forehead and my chin that gets oily. And with some foundations that don't hold up so well, you know, typically when you look at it throughout the day, you can see a little bit of separation in the areas where you're oily. This does not do that, which is really nice. One day I did apply a ton of it. Like I thought, well, let me see if I can just, you know, really cover everything on my chin just with the foundation, just to see how the coverage would build. And I found that that day, throughout the day, it didn't look so hot. That's to say with any foundation. I think that concealer exists for a reason. You know, you should use the foundation on your skin. In the areas where you need more coverage, you can apply it a bit different, but I don't think layering the product is a good idea ever. But that's not even how it was intended to be used. So that was the only thing that I noticed. But if you apply it just regularly, just one layer, you're good to go. Apply concealer where you need it. Then you'll be fine, and it's beautiful. Now, like I said, I have had this for quite some time, and I have applied it in pretty much every single way that you can apply it. And a lot of people would attribute a lot of foundation staying power to a primer, the lack of a primer, you know, that kind of stuff. And I've applied it without a primer, just with clean skin, moisturized skin, you know, just, and it's totally fine, perfect, beautiful. I've applied it on top of my Supergoop, which I kind of like to use as a primer, which is the Supergoop CC cream. I applied the very tiniest bit of that. When I did that demo video, I used so much because I was showing you how I mix it, and then I was just like, oh my god. Even then, I mean, it's fine because the Supergoop's such a good product that you don't have to be afraid of it looking cakey because it just blends, but that's a whole other video, and I do have a review on that explaining that. But I just use a tiny bit, and I put it on my forehead, on my nose right here, on my chin. I don't really put any heavily on my cheeks when I know that I'm going to use a good foundation. It's very lightweight. The Supergoop dries, really just sets to your skin, velvety. Gets very set feeling. If you rubbed it, it won't come off. It feels like a really good, just like set, clean feeling primer, not silicone-y or greasy or anything. Because you don't really need a primer with a good slip for this foundation because it applies so beautifully. Like you just don't need a slippery primer underneath it. So I like to use the Supergoop under foundations because it sort of, I feel like, makes it hold up even better, and it keeps my oil even more at bay. But when I use that, it blends beautifully over that. It doesn't look cakey. It just, that's what I did today. It looks same as if I would have used nothing underneath it, but I just feel like the Supergoop gives you a tiny bit more coverage, and it does make your skin feel a little cleaner throughout the day if you've got oilier skin. It keeps it from, I feel like it keeps my oil under control. However, if I didn't use anything under it and I did get oily, this still holds up really well to the oil. And then you can use a primer of your choice. it would work beautifully over that. I used the Benefit Professional Primer, which was just a primer that I had on hand. It worked beautifully with that. Didn't really notice a difference, sorry, my phone, between that and between when I use nothing. So I think that just speaks to the quality of the foundation. It's a good foundation. Now, as far as how I apply it, I have been totally obsessed with my Beauty Blender lately. This is how I keep it. I keep the little container and that's how I sit it. So mine's all puffy and damp because I just used it. This is a $50 foundation, so you really want it to last you a long time because it's not something that you want to be dropping $50 on a lot or using a brush or a sponge that is soaking up and wasting the product. I feel like beauty blenders do not do that because they're damp. Of course, if you use a dry sponge, I would never ever say to even think of using a beauty blender unless if you dampen it the way it's intended to be used. Because if you use a dry sponge, it's gonna soak up all the product and soak up more product than actually goes on your skin. So because it's damp, I feel like it just gives a beautiful finish. It doesn't transfer any of the dampness to your skin. It just keeps the foundation from soaking into the beauty blender because it's already saturated. It transfers the foundation better and it makes the texture of it. I've tried every beauty blender dupe there is, literally, and none of them get this springy soft. True story. The brush that I like to use with it is the Sephora Pro Flawless Airbrush number 56. My favorite. I could probably say this is probably my favorite foundation brush there is. I love this. I raved about it months back. Still love it, but it's just wonderful. It's tiny, but it just is the most perfect foundation brush. And it does not soak up a lot of product. One, maybe because it's tiny, but I think it's because of the shape of the taperedness of it. It just doesn't soak up a lot of product. So I love that. Or you could use a brush like this. This is the F84 by Sigma. It's a little more dense and large and it fans out a little more, so it's gonna soak up more product. This one definitely soaks up the most out of those methods. There is one that's even worse that I'm gonna show you in a minute. But it leaves a really good finish. And this is the one that's angled but sort of rounded. This one I really like even over the F80. Because it's angled and because it is more smooth. I feel like it just gets into better areas and it just blends better. The F80, if you use with that, or really any foundations, I feel like it works beautifully, but it soaks up the product, and that is the only downside to this brush. And I think maybe because it's flat, if you use a brush with more tapered bristles, it's gonna soak up a little bit of the product, but it's also gonna get it back on your face. It's not just gonna be like hiding in the brush the whole time. So when I use the F80, I use probably twice as much foundation for the same look. So that's something to consider. They all provide a beautiful result, but that's the only downside, is that one wastes a lot of foundation. These two would be my picks. If you like the Sigma brushes and you have them already, then try this F84. This one is just better for me because it doesn't waste as much product. So this one doesn't waste as much as the F80, but it certainly, it works really well. But number one choice would be the Beauty Blender. As far as the concealer, it's good. It's nothing that I would use on blemishes on my face because the coverage is a little light, but it's very thin and perfect for this area under my eye. So I do demonstrate that in the video. There's not a whole lot to say about this. It's just a good, typical coverage concealer. It's not like super groundbreaking or anything, but I really like it. I'm gonna continue to use it until I'm out of it. It's nothing that I'm gonna be like, oh, maybe I should replace it with something else, because I really do like it. It's just good for this under eye area. You can use it all over your under eye, and then you can sort of make the little, how I do the little like arrow, you know, like I do with my MAC Radiant Rose. This you can just use for everything. So really great, and it's thin. It doesn't cake up throughout the day or crease. It's good stuff. I like it. You just have to use a little bit. You don't need to pile it on. I found that the days when I use a ton of it, or if I layer a lot of it, then it does crease, just like any foundation or any under eye concealer would. But it's good stuff and it's very lightweight. So let's go on to the demo. All right, so to get started, I'm gonna use shade 10 and put a little bit on my hand, and I just start with 2 pumps, just like so. Get my hair out of the way. Ideally, I would do that before I put foundation on my hand. That looks so good. I'm gonna use my beauty blender, not to be confused with the Beauty Blender like I almost just said. And I start right here, and I just bounce it all around. And then I just sort of work it out, and then when I get to my cheeks, I sort of kind of use little swift strokes like that. A little more, put it on my chin, look like Santa Claus, and just blend it in. Super easy. Just sort of work it down. With the Beauty Blender, areas where you need more coverage, you need to sort of dab like that. And areas where you really don't, you can just sort of blend like that. But then on those areas that I dabbed a lot, I kind of turn it sideways and dab it with the clean side, just to make sure everything's blended. Get my forehead. And I didn't mix it with shade 20. Shade 20 is a little, just a hair too dark. This one works, but I'd rather my foundation be a hair on the lighter side than too dark. I feel like if you get it a little too dark, that just, to me, never looks good. It looks good on camera sometimes when you use it just a bit dark, because I noticed I never could tell when I used that shade 20. It would always look fine on camera. But when I would go out in the sunlight, or when I would turn my lights off and just really look at it in the sun, it always looked, or when I was looking at it, you know, here and not through the camera, it was always a bit obvious. So sometimes I'll mix just like one pump of the 20 in with this, but the 10 works fine. I can use it on its own like I did today. So all of the blending, I think, was a little like overkill with the with the Beauty Blender. But I always do that when I do a foundation demo. I just like blend the heck out of it. But very, very quick and easy. Next, I'm going to show you the Dior Star, or the Dior Skin Star Concealer, which I don't like on blemishes on my face. I think that it just doesn't have enough coverage. The MAC Studio Finish to me has just totally spoiled me for life with covering up blemishes and stuff on your face. Not for your under eye though. I always like to have a different concealer for that because they're just so different. So this is a good one for that. Now I use the lightest shade at shade 001, and this shade, I wish it was just a touch more pink, but I'm gonna sort of use it as a concealer and sort of as I use the Dior, or not Dior, the MAC Radiant Rose. Why can't I remember anything? And then I'm gonna use the other side of my Beauty Blender and just dab it in. And to me, this is a really good under eye concealer. It's not heavy, it's brightening, it's pretty. You can use it sort of down the side right there. It's just nice. It's a nice under eye concealer. So I am happy with this one. Whereas with the MAC Radiant Rose, I usually I've gotten to where I just like it right here. I don't really like to put it way out there because sometimes it can be a bit apparent, especially if your skin is a bit darker or if you've gotten a bit of sun. So this was a good one, I think. And sometimes in that inner part, I just put a little more and then just use my finger, because sometimes the Beauty Blender is like, or a brush or anything, is a bit hard to get just right there. And I've already done my eyeshadow, so normally I wouldn't be doing this right up against that, but for some reason, I just went ahead and did my eyeshadow so that well, not for some reason, but so that when I got done with the demo, it would look like more complete. Although I still have to do bronzer and stuff, but I'm not gonna show all that because it's the same as that glow video, and I'll link that below. Paired with this, I think that you can really ruin foundation with the wrong setting powder. You can review something to death and you can have all these different types and say how different they are, but then if you apply the same setting powder or one that's too heavy or something, you just make them all look the same and you kind of ruin the effect. So I've gotten to where I really like this one. It's the Nars Translucent Crystal Light Reflecting Setting Powder. I say I've gotten to where I really like it recently, but I've really liked this for a long time. It's so sheer and it does not take away the finish of your foundation. It just truly sets your makeup without giving you a powdered look. And it's so light, you don't have to buff it in or anything. I just dab it on. I mean, you can swirl it a little if you want, but it's just really good stuff. I mean, it's so lightweight. So that is it, guys, from the demo. Of course, I did my eyebrows and did the little routine that I'll link to, the little whole bronzer, blush, all that routine. But I hope that y'all liked the review. It was very thorough, it was very long, but I just wanted to get everything out there and really really give you a thorough review. So I hope that y'all enjoyed it. Definitely try this foundation. It's really good. The only thing I didn't mention, I think, was the fragrance. It does have a light scent to it, which I like because it's more of a fresh scent. It's not a real heavy floral scent like the Matte Velvet Plus, and it's definitely not unscented. It's more of like a very fresh, clean smelling scent, and I like it. I like it. So that's really it. I think that's hopefully the only thing that I left out, but I hope that you guys will try it. Forgot to mention also the pump. It has a pump and it's nice. So I hope that you guys enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you all very soon. Bye.